Hi there, in this video I'll be working on a Hotpoint EW74 cooker and specifically on the removal and replacing of one of the hob elements. Ceramic hob elements are generally very similar in appearance and how they fit onto the hob itself. So in this respect the video could be related to any number of other makes and models. However, access to these elements will vary depending on which make or model you have. The first thing to do is disconnect it. Because of the very high voltage used by cookers, it's best if you switch the appliance off from the mains and remove the fuse from the main box. At the very least, switch off the unit from the wall socket and remove that fuse. Under no circumstances work on a cooker while it's still connected to the mains power supply. Removing the hob top is the next course of action, and this one is held on by 2 screws under the fascia panel and 2 at the back. To get the screws under the fascia panel you will need to remove the control knobs and the clock buttons. These knobs come off easily if you leave them off. So they go back on the correct control, place them on a piece of wood or something in the order they were removed. This way you can put them to one side until needed for refitting. The buttons are all the same, so there's no need to segregate them. Just pull them off and put them in a container to keep them safe. Under the fascia are 2 screws that hold it on. When these have been removed, slide it to the left and it will unhook from a couple of brackets on the cabinet. Be careful how you remove the fascia because there are 2 neons attached, and if you're too heavy-handed you could break either or both of them. Having said that, they're not the easiest things in the world to remove, but they do need to come off or you'll be left with the fascia panel hanging suspended by these neon wires. With the fascia panel off you can see the fixing brackets which it hooked into, and the hob fixing screws above them. These screws are the only things holding the front of the hob on, but as you can see access to them is quite long-winded. Remove the screws and go to the back of the cooker. There's a number of screws here but only the bottom 2 hold the hob on. The others hold 2 brackets which fit across the hot plates, so don't undo these. Lift the hob up very carefully because on this model there's at least one wire which is, to my way of thinking, much too short, and if you just lift the hob you'll bend the terminal it connects to, and if not rectified before refitting it will short out one of the elements. The terminal blocks come apart quite easily if you squeeze the levers either side and prise them apart with a screwdriver. Although they look the same, they are in fact opposites and can't be reconnected the wrong way, so there's no need to label them. Although you can see if the element is working or not through the hob top, it could be the control switch or wiring at fault, so it's best to meter it out before removing it. Remove the wires from the element connections before you meter them, or you could get a false reading. Some of these terminals have locking tabs on, and others are just tight and hard to come off. But that's a good thing, because loose terminals would cause it to overheat and short circuit. Take a photo of the wires before you remove them or make a diagram. Never be too hasty when you're removing components or connections, because 5 minutes spent at the start of a job noting where parts or wires come from could save you hours at the end of a job trying to remember where they all fit. There's a lot of holes in the bar that holds the elements in place. This is to accommodate a number of different cookers it's fitted on. Look out for the 2 holes where there are tags poking through, because these are the locating pins for the element to prevent it from moving. Mark these holes for when you replace the element, or it could take a while to locate the right ones and sight it in the correct position. This particular element has 3 filaments, but most have 1 or 2. Be extra careful of the glass tube running across the face of the element, because this is the temperature sensor. Inside is a metal rod that expands when it reaches a set temperature and forces 2 contacts apart, breaking the circuit and turning the element off. It's very easy to break this tube, which would render the element useless. There are 2 spring steel brackets on this element, and each one fits into a hole on the element support bar. Some elements have just 1 bracket that stretches right across it, but there are still 2 pins on these brackets, so that when fitted in place the element doesn't twist or move. Don't trust the memory where all the wires fit. Check your photo or diagram just to make sure you have them all on the correct terminals. Take your time, look at what you're doing and get it right first time. As I said earlier, these terminal blocks can't be fitted wrongly, because there's a male and a female connector on the hob and the same on the cooker. Therefore the male on the hob fits the female on the cooker and vice versa. Even the pin connections are shaped so they'll only fit in one position. At the beginning of this video I mentioned that you need to watch out for the Hotpoint LEDs and how one of the wires pulls on a terminal. Be aware of this and check it before replacing the top, or you could find it blowing a fuse and wonder why. Make sure the hob's sitting square on the cooker before you start replacing the front screws. Fortunately the neons go back much easier than they came out, but be sure to check the wire has gone inside the cabinet or the fascia panel won't fit properly. Hook the top of the panel onto the retaining brackets and slide it to the right. If the fascia is on properly, the holes in it should line up with the holes in the cabinet, so fit the screws and tighten them. Now bring over all the control knobs you previously put on a piece of wood, and they'll all be in the right order for refitting. The buttons just push on, and they're all the same anyway, so it doesn't really matter which order they go back on in. To finish up, just replace the 2 screws at the back of the hob and the cooker's ready to test. Just as a precaution, it may be wise before you reconnect it to the mains just to do a continuity test. Switch all the elements on, including the ovens, and put one of the meter probes on the earth terminal and the other on the positive. If all's well, you shouldn't get a reading. Now try it between the negative and earth. Once again, there should be no reading. If there is, turn all the elements off and try them one at a time to isolate which one is faulty. Only when they check out OK, reconnect the cooker. On behalf of Selfix UK, we'd like to thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. Goodbye.